Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife.
And how you doing? How you living? How you feeling, folks? Back for another episode of City Night Lights. Now, of course, I'm your host with the most. As always, glad to be back talking to you folks. My name's Zach. How are you guys doing? I'm so pumped to get into this episode. The Mets just had a phenomenal trade deadline. Absolutely stellar. They did significantly more than I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to make some more low-key acquisitions, kind of do a slow play free agency. I did not expect this, and I'm very excited to get into it. So first, we're just going to hit off on the standings. You know, we're in first place in the NL East. You gotta love that. Now, we're no longer leading the league, but we're winning the NL East by half a game. So that's all that matters, is that we make sure we stay competitive in the division. It looks like it's just pretty much us and the Phillies tailing away. You know, the Marlins are in third, so I really feel quite confident that this is a two-team race. Now, to talk about the firepower that this team has just added to the roster, it's going to be something important. We're going to start off with a deal that happened maybe a week ago. You know, we'll ease our way into it, and that's lefty coming out of the pen on a one-year deal, Gregory Soto. Now, Gregory Soto was most recently playing for Baltimore and was actually having a nice season, you know, pitching to the tune of where's his ERA? Of a 3.96, you know, a little high, but not too bad. I could use an effective lefty, a guy who's been killing lefty batters. I mean, his FIP is a 3.28, so I'll be honest with you, I really like that his fielding independent pitching is, pretty decent. I like that we're putting him on a team that's just pretty strong fielding-wise. You know, we got a lot of competent guys, so I'm more than happy to play to some ground ball action. But in his two appearances so far, I would say he's looked great on the Mets. You know, very excited to see how the rest of the season for Gregory Soto goes. As a guy who's been accomplished in the past. He's really put it together before, you know, a couple seasons on Detroit. He was great, made 2 All-Star games, played pretty well on Philly, and even in his time in Baltimore has played well. So I'm excited to get a high-quality vet arm, you know, coming out of the pen, especially a lefty. Going to be huge adding him along with Brooks Raley. You know, just kind of bolstering those lefties. We didn't have a lot of lefties to start this season out. It looked kind of interesting. It looked like we were going to really just be throwing righties every game. I didn't know what the Mets were going to do with that. But like I said, now having him and Brooks Raley, really, really helpful. It just shores us up against some of the teams, you know, gives us a better ability to pitch the Dodgers and other teams like that. But yeah, you know, we literally just have him and Brooks Raley. Before that, it was just Brooks Raley. So very happy that we have another guy in the pen. Oh yeah, we had AJ Minter, but unfortunately he went out. So pen. I mean, Soto, I was happy with just Soto. Not gonna lie to you guys, but then we're gonna keep it moving and grooving. The next guy we ended up picking up made a big splash for Tyler Rogers. So the reason why I didn't speak about anything to do with Soto's deal is because Gregory Soto's trade package was pretty much nothing anyone would know of. So I'm going to not even bother it and say it was a great deal. Now we'll move on to the Taylor Rogers deal. This deal was definitely a loaded package. We gave them Jose Butto, you know, a guy who's been very quality for us, has given us a lot of great innings, especially in the playoffs last year. So, you know, we give up a young guy with some team control, might come out of might actually be in the rotation for the Giants coming up. And then we gave up Drew Gilbert, a guy we acquired in the Justin Verlander trade, and Blade Tidwell. You know, some guys like Jolly Olive really like Blade Tidwell. I'm on the opposite end of the scale. I don't think he's that great. I do agree with him. I think he's going to end up becoming a reliever. Just doesn't seem to really have the ability to get through, 4 to 5 innings. It just seems like he always sputters out in the 4th. So, but, I don't want anyone to get really PCA PTSD, right? I think Drew Gilbert, he's not bad, but we really just didn't have a fit for him in the corners. We don't have a guy that's going to be, we have an everyday guy for the corners. We don't have a guy that's going to be missing, pretty much is what I meant to say. But between Soto and Nimmo, we're locked up till 2031. So if Drew Gilbert wasn't going to be able to play center field, it seems like a lost cause. So trading him, at least getting something like Tyler Rogers, a guy who's been a phenomenal arm coming out of the pen for a long time for the Giants. He actually came into the league at the age of 28 in 2019, and since then has dominated. In his 7 years of play, he has a 2.79 ERA coming out of the pen. This guy has been lights out. This year, he's having his second best pitching year, and he's got a 1.8. If not, actually, this is probably his best pitching year overall. Best pitching year had a much smaller sample, but he's been great. 50 innings to a 1.8. This guy has been lights out. I mean, for crying out loud, he's at a 0.86 whip. This guy doesn't walk anybody. He's phenomenal. He's got 4 walks on the year through 50 innings. I'm so excited to see Tyler Rogers, a true professional setup man, come out of the pen for us. I am pumped to watch him dominate for us coming out of the pen. This really just strengthens our pen too. Gives us some more quality guys coming out of the bullpen. So very excited for that. Now, he is only on a 1-year deal. Does make things a little interesting. But I think the one thing that everyone's going to be excited to see is that he's a submarine pitcher as well. Has that crazy arm angle. Very, very excited to see him come out and play. See how that arm angle works. I don't get to see a guy pitch that often with that type of arm angle. So it'll be really fun to see him on our team. Let's keep it moving. And then we also picked up Ryan Hazley, closer coming out of the Cardinals locker room. This guy has been great this year. Now, I'm going to just quickly bring up his stats because I thought I had him up, but I unfortunately didn't. Good thing his name is easy to spell. Now, Ryan Hazley, he's been having a great season. He's got a 3 ERA. He's through 36 innings. He's got 21 saves. So if we need another guy to, get a save, we have someone outside of Edwin Diaz who's had save experience. He had 49 saves last year. I'm very, very confident getting another guy, another flame-throwing arm in this pen. It's great to watch the Mets get true professionals to come and play for this team, especially in the bullpen. Something that we really need. Our pitchers just our starters haven't been able to get us through inning 6 and inning 7. So to add such high-quality arms to this pen is very, very exciting. I mean, for crying out loud, the fact that our 4th best reliever is Reed Garrett, I feel like that says something about us. I mean, yeah, he's literally our 4th best reliever, and that's Reed Garrett. And you can even say maybe Brooks Raley's our 4th best reliever. I mean, the fact that we have that much depth in the bullpen is huge. Let's hope these guys stay healthy. I'm very, very excited. I think this really, really helps the Mets rest of season get through and into the playoffs nicely and through the playoffs as well. Now, with that being said, the Mets did make one more deal, a deal I didn't think they were going to make, and they went out. They picked up their only bat of the deadline, and that's going to be lefty Cedric Mullins. Now, oh yeah, wait, my bad. I'll go back real quick. We the trade for Hazley, we gave up Jesus Baez, Nate Dome, and Frank Islot. I can't say that. Dome and Islot, super young guys, and then Baez, he was a relatively high prospect in the Mets pool, but it doesn't feel like we gave up a ton to take him on. All right. Now, Seti. He's a super high quality fielder. I've watched him in Camden Yards. I've seen him make some phenomenal catches. I remember 2 years ago, he had some crazy catch in center field. He's running straight back, dives, full out dive, and snags that ball. I've seen this guy make phenomenal plays in center. I'm very excited to add a quality bat to the lineup. I feel like he's going to have to add more than, what Tyrone Taylor and Jeff McNeil have been putting out there in center field. So adding a true center fielder, someone to shore up that position group with Jose Siri out long term, it's going to be huge for us. I'm not sure about adding another lefty bat. We have a ton of lefties, but I don't necessarily mind it, and I'll tell you why. So we got 4 lefty bats in the lineup and a switch, and 2 switch hitters if you include Mauricio. We also have a lefty in Brett Beatty. Now, with that being said, our bench bats, we have, whether that's Vientos and Beatty, or maybe Acuna. We have Marte, Tyrone Taylor. I could potentially see the Mets moving off of Tyrone Taylor later in the year, maybe really relying on Winker more or Jose Siri more later in the year. But I'm very pleased with this acquisition. I think it's just going to add defensive strength and at least a little bit of offensive competency. Hasn't been having the greatest of offensive years this year. He's got a 230 average. He's got a 105 OPS plus. He's not doing anything super special, but he's got 14 steals, which I'm excited about. And he's got 15 home runs, so he's got some pop. He's got some speed. It's just going to be good to see that combo, a little extra oomph in the back end of that lineup. I think it's really, really going to be helpful for the Mets. When that's your 5 or 6 hitter. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm really happy about that. Like I said, I didn't expect that, but I'm really glad we picked him up. Now, yeah, that's kind of the Mets trade deadline. I didn't think they were going to go out there and really make some crazy deals. I guess we didn't end up going after Robert. Price must have been just a little bit too high. It seemed like they were going after Vientos or some of the higher end prospects that we just weren't willing to give up. Maybe a Jonah Tong. Just didn't seem to be in our wheelhouse. I'm glad that we kept all of our very high-end prospects. I think maybe we look to move them in a free agency, off-season type deal. Maybe we find something that's more long-term there. But like I said, I'm very happy that the Mets went out and did some great things this deadline. So, that's kind of all I have. That's all I wanted to talk about. I'm glad I got to hit all my points. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys coming out, listening, taking the time, Now with that being said, stay idiotic.